for watching and welcome back to yet another beautiful episode of Tie the Knot with Emeka the Romantic Mochiga. A beautiful show about marriage. We are giving marriage the good PR it deserves after the negative PR it's getting. Man, it's bad out there. People have been fighting on social media. It's too much. But I started this show to show guys that, hey, marriage can work. Challenges will come, but you can still go through them. Now, today, I'm having a special guest. She's a good friend of mine, and it's been a long time coming. This is one of the times she's coming, but I will have her back again. Today, she's going to be talking about finances. To the young couples out there, you guys make the money, you know how to make the money, you know how to spend the money, but investing and saving is where the problem is. So my friend is here to talk to us about finances, what you need to do, what you do not need to do. You know her, guys. You've seen her. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the very amazing and gorgeous Pumla Nabachwa.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Pumla. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
It feels weird.
How? How does it feel?
Because
weird?
I feel like there needs to, on your show, there needs to be another person.
Another
here,
person.
Yeah. But here I am, single and not searching, but single.
No. Now you have opened. So, guys, Pumla is single, but not searching.
Not searching.
Why?
I'm content where I am. Let me tell you what single means. Some people think that single means that you're there by yourself.
Yeah.
For me, but those categories are very clear as they appear when you're applying for a visa or a passport. My category of dating is not there. So when they ask me what I am, you're either single or you're married or you're, what else is there? Or divorced.
Or
they even
divorced.
ask for divorce.
Divorced.
Yeah, and widowed. Kumanga divorce even takes higher priority than dating.
Jesus
Kumanga
Christ.
dating is not there on the list.
So
I'm single but not searching.
So that means you're dating.
I'm dating.
Perfect. Hey, it's going to be like, hey, whoever wants. No.
No, I'm dating.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And how is the person you're dating? You guys are okay?
Yeah, we're vibing.
You're vibing?
It's going really well.
Hey,
yeah.
We are
It's
waiting.
going really, really. For what?
The wedding.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
All right.
So far, we're all right.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
That's great. And you're a financial coach.
Yes. I don't know if I like to use that word, mostly because I think coaches walk the journey with you.
Yeah.
Usually on a one-on-one basis. I'm actually a certified financial literacy educator.
Certified financial literacy educator.
Yes. So I think the online talk or the talk is coach. But I qualify to be a coach, but I'm not doing any coaching.
Yeah.
I just come to speak and share information and knowledge and skills and confidence on how people can manage their finances better. Yeah.
Interesting. So let's get into it straight away. Couples out there.
Yes.
People make money and you see them spending money. Others have plans, but we'd like you to tell us, how can a couple, a young couple, create an effective budget, a very effective personal budget that can work for them?
Okay. If you can allow me to dial back a little.
Yes.
When it comes to managing finances, I have seen you, even on this show, I've had you ask a couple of couples.
Yes.
How do you manage your finances? And even in experience, people's response is always, we are figuring it out. You know, it's like a gray area. Nobody really has a clear-cut way of how they're doing it. And I realized that it's difficult to speak to couples if you've not spoken to individuals first.
Yes.
So mine, I usually do personal financial management. And then I tell couples that my foundation and the theory I give you, you can apply it in your couple life. So this is what we're going to do, Emeka.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to pretend that I'm an expert at things that I'm not. I know there are people who they ask, who can build for us a bridge? Their hands can go up. Why? Because maybe they've built a road before.
Yeah.
So I'm an expert at managing finances on a personal level, one-on-one.
One-on-one.
Because I need you to understand your money personality.
Yes.
When it comes to couples, there's a difference because people have different money personalities and then they come together. And then now they have to do a dance.
Yes.
So that dance goes beyond financial management. So when I'm going to speak here to pass to people as individuals, and then I'll also borrow from what I know couples have done,
Oh, yes.
or what I know could work in couples.
In couples.
So let's start from there. You asked budgeting.
Budgeting.
Budgeting works both ways, both for individuals and for couples.
Yeah.
It's just that for couples it's a little more nuanced because you might have different priorities. So the first thing about a budget is understanding the difference between your needs and your wants. And we've also got to understand that needs have evolved over time. There was a time when we were in school learning science and we were told basic needs are clothing,
Food.
shelter, food. Wasn't that it?
Medical.
Was there even medical in that time?
Medical care.
The problem is that we went to school at different times.
Yes.
In my time, there was no medical. But
Yeah.
you see how it's evolving? In your
Yes.
time, there was medical.
There was medical.
And yet medical ideally is a basic need. There is transport. There is hair. Hair is now a need.
Huh?
It is what you're doing with your hair that can turn it into a want. But basic care, hair care is a need.
Yeah.
Data, airtime, connectivity, e-connectivity is a need.
It's a need.
It is the type of gadget you're buying that turns it into a want. So you've got to understand what are your needs and what are your wants and what do you have to prioritize. What you prioritize is your needs, and you've got to be honest with yourself. Even budget takes on forms of value systems. For example, somebody's budget can have, so let's start from the mathematics.
Yeah.
I know people don't fear math, but it's very, very simple mathematics. There are many different ways in which you can distribute your income. But the most basic is this, and then you can attune it to your lifestyle.
Yeah.
The guiding principle is that 50% of your income, all your income, 50% should go to your needs.
50% of the income.
50% of your income goes to your needs. What are needs? The ones I've mentioned before. Your rent that you pay, your food, your immediate needs, utilities, you have to pay for your light. They call it light now. You have to pay for water. The immediate needs that you know, I need this. And I cannot survive without it.
Yeah.
These are my basic needs. That's 50%. Education, you need to pay for your children's school fees.
Yes.
That's a need. Again, it is the quality of education that turns it into a want.
A want.
But the basic is education. Then you have a 30%. 30% is now for your wants. And your wants can be entertainment. I mean, we are human beings and we are social beings.
Yes.
You might want to go out once in a while. You might want to have a good time. You might want to go to the cinema. There are wants. You may want to go on a vacation. Those are wants, you know. And even these things now, that's where the other part of wants comes in. I've told you, data is a basic need.
Yeah.
But the gadget that you're holding becomes a want.
A want.
So that data you're buying, you can still put it on a kabiti. That is the need. So say, how much is a kabiti? Put that money aside, 50K. How much is the data I need? Put it aside. Anything that creeps over that is an expense of your phone enters the wants category. My hair, basically, this hair costs me 100,000 Uganda shillings. This hair which I'm wearing, like 100,000 shillings. Per time I do it once a month.
Once a month,
Once a month. So that's in my monthly budget of my hair. But when I look through, I can see that this is not the most basic of hair care. The most basic of hair care, which still keeps my hair in good condition and good quality, probably would be about 40,000 Uganda shillings. Probably about. And even that one is like 40,000 every 2 weeks. So that might still be, and this again is for my income bracket. All of us have different needs and wants in our different income brackets.
Yeah.
So my quality of keeping my hair might cost more than yours. So for you find out what is yours that is manageable in your income bracket, put it there. Anything that goes above that, you put to your wants. That's how it works. Transport. The basic transportation is to and from the place that earns you money.
Money, yeah.
Full stop. Anything you do out of that is in your wants.
In your wants.
So that's how you categorize it. So we have 50%, we have 30%, then we have 20%. The 20% goes to your saving. Saving and paying back of debt. But this is now for a young beginner family
yeah.
or young beginner individual. Over time, you will find that if you practice good financial management, the 30% and the 20% shift. You will find that 30% now goes into saving and investment and debt repayment.
Yeah.
And 20% now looks into your wants. That shift usually happens
Yes.
when you see progress in your financial management.
Yeah.
When it comes to couples and those budgets, now because me, I'm an individual, it's easy for me to do that budget and align it in my head because it is attuned to my lifestyle and my goals
Yes.
as an individual. I know them. When it comes to a couple literally has to sit down together and understand that you are two individuals that have now come into one. But you've got to respect the fact that you are individuals first. So your priorities might differ. What I call a need, you might say is not.
It's not, yeah.
So there must be a level of respect given to both of you, an understanding of where you come from. We are two different money personalities, usually that marry. There are people that marry, spenders, and there are savers.
Savers.
And half the time, not half, 89.9% of the time, those two people marry each other. And now you're going to struggle in financially. Or you think that it's a struggle if you don't talk about it. But if you talk about your money personality and somebody understands that my person is a spender and the other person understands that my person is a saver, then those two can find middle ground and understanding. And there has to be a self-awareness and a union awareness that of who you are and what your bottom line is as a family.
Yeah.
When you're making a budget as a family, there must be a bottom line. What are we trying to achieve?
Yeah.
So if you find that for me, my spending ways is not achieving the bottom line we've agreed to, there must be some adjustment. If you as a saver, you also think, because people think savers are the best people in the world.
Yeah.
One setback of savers is they are very risk averse. Now you as a spender, you might entertain more risk. You might have a higher tolerance for risk. So you may want to invest, put your thing in a good risky venture, but the saver is very cautious. But now that takes you back to, as a couple, as a union, what is our bottom line? So if you're saving, your frugality in finances is not allowing you to invest and meet that bottom line, you've got to go back to the drawing board.
Wow.
But all in all, the fundamental remains the same. 50% to your needs, 30% to your wants, 20% to saving and debt repayment. And over time, that 20% now gets into your wants, and the 30% turns into your savings and investment and debt repayment.
Interesting. Wow. And how can individuals prioritize their financial goals, especially when juggling around other things like paying bills, rent, and all that stuff?
Yeah.
When they're juggling multiple responsibilities.
One, you've got to know what your goals are.
Yeah.
You've got to know what your goals are.
Yes.
They are short-term goals, they are medium-term goals, and they are long-term goals. We've spoken about the short-term goals. The short-term goals, so let's explain. You know, when I'm educating, I like to, sometimes you think that people understand what you're saying, yet really,
they
need
don't
to
get
define certain things.
Yeah.
What is a financial goal? A financial goal is any objective you have that needs money, that's expressed in money, anything in the world. If even just coming here to meet the romantic Muchiga is a goal, because it requires fuel.
Yeah.
From where I was to where I am. And if I tell you the traffic that I endured, Okumanya, I planned, but I didn't plan enough because the traffic was even more than I expected. That's a financial goal. So your short-term goals are things you need now, today. What do you need to pay for today? You need to pay for food. You need to eat. That's a short-term goal. So those should be listed in your budget. That's a short-term financial goal.
Yeah.
You have medium-term goals. What are you planning for? Education can be a mid-term goal. You know, one of the things that we don't do in this country is plan for our children's education before the children come. We first have the children.
Then we start planning for the education.
No, we don't. We wait for them to start the school.
Then we start planning.
Then we start planning for their education.
Wow.
Children's education should be planned for before you have children. If you know that I'm going to get married, in your plan of the wedding, now you need to start planning. Okay, Now we've got married, we've crossed that hurdle, because it's difficult to plan for children and also a wedding possibly at the same time. So I'll extend you that grace, but still, if you're really, really good at your finances, those children should even be planned for before.
The ones we call planned kids.
The real planned kids. But I extend grace because in our community, in our culture, we tend to marry a little young.
Yes.
So when you're a little young, you haven't accumulated enough money. To divide all your money. You understand? So, but they're in cultures where people, no, me, I'm going to get married at 30, not before. That means my children will come probably at 32. So you have a period between 23 or 22 when you finish university to 30. And there's some planning that you can set aside money, set aside some money.
Yeah.
But because most of us get married, many of us get married a little earlier, even if people are now getting married later, you can say the wedding now has passed. Okay. What is our mission as a couple? Again, what is our bottom line? Do we want children? These are conversations, by the way, you should have had before you got married. Yeah. Not after. After should be continuous, because these are never-ending conversations. So now, remember, now I'm speaking to you like I'm speaking to normal educated people who had conversations before. Yeah. Now we are in the marriage. Remember, Emeka, you said you wanted 3 children. But remember me, I had told you I want 5. 5. We've not yet reached a compromise, maybe. Yeah. Do you know where the compromise is going to come from? From your planning financially. Because Emeka's wife might want 5 children. Emeka needs to ask her, show me the plan for those children. Those debates should not be happening anymore based off emotions. Yeah. They should happen based off logic. If you want 5 children, show me how you're going to manage 5 children. I will give them to you. End of discussion. Yeah. But you don't have a plan. You've not even thought about the first one. Another thing, you have maybe core values. We marry sometimes people, me, education is a priority to me. And not just any education. Quality education. Yes. But the quality I can afford. Because there's a quality I aspire to, but I might not be able to afford. Yes. But there's a quality down there that I am not going for. Because people have that thing of saying, oh, many us, we went to school, we survived, they took us to village schools, we used to work just near there. Didn't we survive? Aren't we CEOs? Let me tell you, those people are the exception to the rule. What is the probability or the chance that your child who goes and walks to the village school there is going to come out as a CEO, come out triumphant? It's not triumphant. It is possible. But wouldn't you as a parent want to amplify your child's chances? Just give them a push, because opportunities start in upbringing. Yes. So when you talk as a couple, now the conversation should be, okay, now you want 3, 5, great. Where do we want to take them to school? The other one says, I want to send SSSSSS, those SSS that have 5 SSSs. Those are the schools to worry about. SSSSSS. Don't you hear these other schools? They just tell you King's College, Budo, full stop. St. Mary's College, full stop. Bwanyanji Girls, full stop. Smart. Yeah, Smart. Ntare High School, full stop. Not Ntare School. It's Ntare School. It made me like it more. Hey. 2 words and the school is finished. Now, then they even earned university. What? After the SSSs. That's where you want your child to go. Even those SSSs, some of them have government aided. In brackets. Then even on the Chipanda, they put their UP in number. Oh my God. Underneath. Then you know now, your priorities are different as a couple. Yes. So you need to align our priority. And it's okay, guys. You'll find these things and think that, oh my God, now we are so different, we can't move forward. Yes, you can. You just have to keep talking. And these are conversations you shouldn't have when the children are here, because now you don't have time. That planning needs to start after the wedding if you know as a couple you want to have children. So the conversation starts. If you're fortunate and your child comes immediately after you've been married, do you know how many years now you have to plan? A good 4 at minimum. Because now you're pregnant, then there are 3 years at least where the child is not going to school. Start putting money aside. Those are medium-term goals. Yeah. Those are medium-term goals. Then you have long-term goals. Some of you make those, what should be medium and long-term goals, you make them immediate goals. Then you have long-term goals. And you have to prioritize, because your most important are the ones that are immediate, then the medium term, then the long term. The long term is things like retirement. You might think that those are discussions that only 50-year-olds are supposed to have. No. Retirement planning starts much younger. Me, my age that I usually give it is 35. But I tell you, 10 years from now, people are going to start planning for retirement at 25. I tell you that. And retirement is twofold. Retirement is both for employed and non-salaried earners. They call them entrepreneurs, people who are not in the
formal sector.
The formal sector. Or you might be informal, but you're doing your own business.
Yeah.
Because salaried earners have usually retirement scheme, but retirement schemes for salaried earners are also still not enough. You have to add on your own, and you get consistent income. So your income, you know how much you can apportion. So you put it over time, because guess what? There's a time when that job. I have a bank card. My bank card has an expiry date of 2045. You think that's a long time from now, but I've worked with that employer for 17 years. So that date is approaching. It's approaching. There was a time when I just started, I was like, you look at this date, it's so far away. Now I'm looking at it, we're in 2025. I have 20 years to go.
20 years to
There's
go.
a time I had 40 years to go. The date is coming. It's coming. And as the date draws closer, there will be a time when I'm not earning the same money I'm earning, and yet I want to maintain a certain kind of lifestyle. And then remember, I will even be of less health. My health will even be worse.
Will be worse, yeah.
And you know, insurances don't give covers for people over a certain age, unless you were insured with them before.
Yes.
But most people, what they do, their children are now looking for, where can we insure our parents? They don't give them those covers. If you find them, they are very, very expensive. So you have to set aside money for yourself so that you don't disturb your children. Some of you use your children as a financial plan, as a retirement plan. That's
say
the
it
problem.
Again, say it again.
Some people, you use your children as a retirement plan. Children are not a retirement plan. Children also have their lives to live. They want to plan for their futures, but now they have to incorporate you in their budget. You're going to get sick. And you know, you're one medical emergency away from poverty.
That's it.
If you do not have medical as a goal, if you don't have insurance, you're doing almost nothing, because you're going to invest, make money, do all these things, and one day you're going to call us for a car wash. Because even that money you had is not enough.
Yeah.
Now we have to top up for you. That should be a long-term goal. You should know there's going to come a time in your life when your health is going to fail you, and yet you're still strong enough to live on this earth. Because let me tell you, Mecca, there's a time when you're going to be 90 and your health fails you, and you say, oh, you guys, I've lived my life, let me go.
Let me go.
But you're going to be 70 with life to live, and now you start disturbing your children.
But Pumla, this thing of health, don't you think, because someone else was saying that we must invest in our health by how we live
today,
living healthy.
For sure. But you know that there are people who we know who have died while running on the road. You know that? Yeah. That thing with health is nuanced. I am an advocate. Me, I do kasavu kanyama.
Yeah.
I live my life recklessly here, but also this side. I remember, Pumla, 40 has come. Be careful, it has entered. Live better. You must invest. How you live in your 60s, in your 40s, is going to show itself in your 60s.
In your 60s.
That is for sure. But we also need to take care of the fact that you plan and life laughs. Life happens. God laughs. Actually, you plan and God laughs. Because you can do everything by the book. And it's still, so you have to plan for that time. And guess what? If you've planned and life has gone the way you have happened, that money, you go on a vacation, you go on a cruise, you do other things with it when that time comes. So those are long-term goals. So what you do when you're planning, both as an individual and as a couple, identify what are our short-term, which are immediate, what are our medium-term, which are for a little later as a couple, and even as individuals, by the way. And then also, what are our long-term goals? What do we want for our life later? And then you start planning your life according to that. With the number one being saving for those lives that you're planning to live.
Wow. Interesting. What are some of the common budgeting mistakes people make?
Budgeting mistakes. Emeka, if you could allow me to talk about financial mistakes.
Okay,
and
financial.
also include the budgeting.
Yes.
I think one of the most common financial mistakes we make is not tracking our expenses.
Not tracking our...
Not tracking our expenses.
One time, I had 2 million. It was on a Saturday.
Hey!
Pumla, I woke up on a Sunday. Guess how much I had? 500K.
Where did the 1.5 go? And yet you've lived through other weekends on 100K.
Even less than 100K.
But one day you get 2 million and you cannot really fully account.
You cannot.
For where that money went. But let me tell you the bigger one on not tracking expenditures. So there are 2 types of expenses.
Yeah.
There are the small ones. But remember, small expenses they are mass.
They are mass, yes.
They are mass. They build. 1 + 1 = 2.
2.
2 + 2 = 4. 4 + 4 = 100. 100 + 100 = 1,000. Then you realize that that expense that you've been accumulating, that you started that you thought was small, kept on accumulating into a big expense.
Yeah.
But then there are also those big ones which we don't account for.
We don't account for.
Let me start the conversation that Africans don't like. And let me tell you, I understand that in our culture,
yes,
as Africans, there are things that we do. I can come here and I speak, and then you say, Pumla, those visa, they are for people who earn a lot, or those things are from outside countries, diaspora.
Yeah.
They are not relatable here. But guys, let me tell you, there are 2 things, and that's fine, but we must learn to incorporate our culture in our financial discipline.
Yes.
One of the biggest things that if I ask anyone in this room here to tell me, to show me their budget for black tax. Black tax meaning that money that you give to support extended family. If I ask any African out of 10, maybe 1.5 will give me. We don't budget for things, we don't plan or budget for things we know are going to happen. You're the firstborn son in your home. Probably your father has something. Maybe they helped you pay for your fees somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Now they are the whole chika, the family, the village has brought their children.
You must take care of them.
To take care of them. It's culture, Ubuntu. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm telling you that you must be able to budget for it. You cannot put your entire budget on them. You're going to become broke. You will. That expenditure must be apportioned. It must be planned for. And remember, as couples, we have that problem. Me as an individual, I can stand firm and say, no. Me, my extended family, this is the money I'm giving them, it's enough. Then you have this husband. And you are the last born daughter.
Yeah.
Your issues are different. Then the firstborn, you married a firstborn son. And those are ones that like each other.
Those ones.
Firstborn and lastborns. So your mindsets are completely different. Then he says, no. Me, my family, my mother who lives in the village, she must come and live with us. My sister, she has just graduated. She has no job. She must come and live with us. Now you're paying for them in your house. You have children in the house.
You must feed them.
You must feed them. Then you have the other Senga. The other Senga who you like a lot also. But Senga's children, Senga has 4 children. And remember, you're the one. And let me tell you this thing. In every family, even in families, let me take my family, we have 5 children. But in every family, there are usually 2 people bearing that burden.
Yeah.
It's rarely everybody bearing it appropriately or proportionately. Children. It's usually about 2 or 1 child who's taking the whole burden because they feel guilty of not. It's cultural. We think we must. Imagine you don't have to. It is an obligation. It is not a required obligation.
It's not a must.
It is not a must. Imagine it is not a must. Those are money mindsets or money things that we need to get out of our heads.
Yeah.
Right now it is difficult because our parents were not educated the same way. We became our parents' retirement plan and our family's retirement plan. So my teaching is usually to you, not to become your father or your mother, not to look down at your child and expect help. at your nephews and your nieces and expect help. Start planning today. So those are the things now for you. You're helping, but it's not in your budget. I've asked you, how much have you budgeted? You're doing everything you can. You're even amassing wealth, assets here, just to help a whole herd of people. Do you know what you're doing? You're giving those people permission to have more children.
Oh, so the more you help them, the
more you help them, the more they don't have burdens.
They're like, he will take care.
They're like, eesh. They even name the child after you.
You think they've named their child after you because they love you
Jesus.
so much?
Because you're Jesus. No chance, not at all.
Oh my God, my daughter Pumla Nabachwa.
No.
Banange, Pumla Nabachwa, he is your daughter Pumla Nabachwa.
Then you go telling people, Banange, they even post on social media, on Instagram. They named the child after me. They've given you a financial burden that now, can you reject a child called Pumla? Nga yo Pumla.
Nabachwa. You cannot. Kamuzale mukule tele Pumla.
So that is one of the biggest financial mistakes that we make. Guys, it is okay to give, but know what you're giving and track it. And what are you giving for? And there are ways that you can manage that giving. You can decide that me in my home, let me be the one to pay for medical, but you be the one to look after them in your home. Let me send money. You can love from a distance, guys. Don't inconvenience your spouses. You can love from a distance. It's okay. We know you love your mother. You know me, I have a son. And I know that I'm trying as much as possible because it's only natural that sons want to look after their mothers.
Yes.
It's only natural that there's an emotional thing that makes you even forget that you have a wife and started a new family. Your family is not your mother when you get married. Your family is your wife and your children. That is now your extended family. It does not remove the love you have for them, but you owe financial responsibility and accountability to your nuclear family first. And if your bottom line is being compromised or threatened because of decisions that you are making for your extended family, dial back. Dial back. Do what you can. Don't sacrifice your whole self. That's one. We have a problem in this culture also, contributing so large amounts to life events.
Weddings.
Because you want them to see you when they pass around the thingy on WhatsApp. Here, Pumla John Rubwama contributed 2 million. They ask you, 2 million, then his car breaks down and he's in Mabanja. I tell people about the floods we had the other week. I like to use that story. I like using new things. I used to use COVID, but I left COVID because people forgot.
Now we have floods.
Now we have floods. I saw flood people trying to drive through water that their Toyotas could not maneuver. And their cars got stuck. Do you know how expensive that repair is?
It's too much.
It's expensive and it's unplanned for.
And most times you have to buy a new engine.
You have to. 99.98% of the time, you must. But I don't even know cars, but I know that one. You have to buy a new engine. Now, you decided that I have a friend who was getting married, and it's great, by the way. Contributing is great. And now when I give a problem, I like to give a solution. Imagine again, you don't have to give that money. You don't have to. And if you're at I understand that there's an age group that is listening to me that is not yet emotionally intelligent enough to extend their friends grace when they don't come through for them financially. But as you grow older, you'll realize that, guys, sometimes just show up for people.
Yeah.
When you don't have money or you're poor, don't contribute to those things. You must be able to use your hands. Don't try to put yourself in income brackets that you don't fit into just because you want to fit in. That's another financial mistake we make. Living beyond our means because bananda babatia. How will they talk about me? You want to be the talk of the village. That did you guys see? Hey, they paid. You know those WhatsApps we see from Maison Noire? Where they've paid a bill of 36 million.
50 million in a night.
Do you know who sends those bills? Do you know who sends them? The people paying. They're the ones who take pictures of the bills and circulate. See how much we spent. Those pictures and screenshots, they find you down the lane. But the original senders of those are people who want to be seen. Or have you seen? But let me tell you, if something drastic happens in their financial life, they have nowhere to start from.
Not even the people they were spending that money on.
Especially the people they were spending that money on, they will disappear. Anyone who does not understand that you have other financial obligations to achieve first, like saving for an emergency fund, before you spend on a baby shower, on a gender reveal, on weddings, on a kasiki, on Kwanjula. And let me ask you, Banag, who started that behavior of contributing to Kwanjula? Kwanjula is supposed to be
Abomunju, yes.
But people now decided to make the Kwanjula even bigger than the wedding. Why? Because the woman decides, the man does the wedding, they are going to chop my guest list, so let me invite everybody. Then you send us pledge cards. You guys, Kwanjula is a traditional cultural ceremony. And even if culture evolves, there are some things that we must respect. Kwanjula is for family. It is not for extended people everywhere.
Not friends.
And even if you're doing friends, you must be able to afford it. Not pledge cards. But you're now disturbing people financially for what? That one, live for the wedding. We'll contribute to your wedding, to your union. That one, we are okay. So understand what you're contributing. I tell all my friends. I tell them, you've sent me a pledge card for what? Kwanjula. First of all, you guys do Kwanjula, then you may stop there. You send me the one for the wedding.
I'll pay for the
wedding.
That
one I will contribute to. So that's spending beyond what we need to. We need to shift. We need to change that Pumla Nabachwa spending.
Yeah.
Impulse spending, also impulse spending is another problem that we have.
Yes.
Another financial mistake that we make is borrowing beyond what we can afford to pay.
Debts.
Debts.
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was going to be the next question. Okay. The best way to manage personal debt effectively.
The best way to manage personal debt effectively.
Because you've said people borrow more than they can pay.
The best way to manage debt effectively is to understand just that debt should be for only two things in the world and nothing else. Debt should be, for one, improving your financial position. And number two, should only be for things that are going to generate you income. The difference between the two is this. Generating income is I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
I'm nothing. I have a business. Maybe I want to start... what is high these days? I see people making soap, people doing cakes. Let's say cakes.
Cakes. Yes.
Is that what family is like? I want to talk in things that people relate with.
Yeah. In cakes,
baking,
people make cakes,
baking. You need equipment. Maybe you can't afford it. And by the way, start small. Start small. Then as you grow and you see that, the demand has grown, then maybe you need to improve your supply. So you're like, you know what? I'm baking 5 cakes a day. I don't need a loan for these 5 cakes. And I'm getting some money. But my demand has increased. People are asking me for more cakes, but I don't have the capacity because I need to employ an extra 1-2 people, and I need bigger equipment.
Yeah.
You can get a loan for that. If you can see that in the plan, you are able to pay back that loan. So that is to generate income.
Yeah.
Improve your financial position can be an investment in something you're not seeing today. Financial position can be for tomorrow. You can borrow in real estate, let's say. You can borrow maybe to buy property. Property that you know is going to appreciate in value later. And then when later comes, you go and get your return. So your financial position is being improved because you're buying an asset. So when they come and ask you, look at your portfolio, it's not just cash. You also have that asset, which you borrowed for. But when you look at that asset and you look at the interest rate that you're paying against that asset, if it's land or whatever it is, or building or rentals or whatever, that the money that you're getting back every month or whenever periodic time that you're paying back the loan is enough to match. Or if it is not, you can say, maybe my income can cater to that, but in the next 5 to 10 years, I would have fully paid off that loan and the asset will be mine. So that's what I would say about those loans. That's the two things. One of the things I have found Ugandans are falling victim to are loan apps.
Those ones.
I don't know what we are going to do about loan apps, but let me start from here. You know, let me tell you about businessmen, people, or businesswomen. The smartest of them.
Very cunning.
They identify a gap.
Yeah.
And they come in very quickly to close it. And they don't care how they close it. Those loan apps are okay. They are okay. They can exist in our financial ecosystem. But they have two big problems. The first one is that they have very short repayment periods. And they have very expensive interest rates.
Very.
And the problem with human beings is that we usually borrow from a place of desperation and not clarity. So for you to borrow from a loan apps are for one thing, emergency, for an emergency.
Yeah.
You have right now, maybe you failed to get money from your bank, the network is down, you've borrowed, or you're trying to make a transaction here quickly, you know that in at least a week or 2 weeks you'll pay back, even if it's a month, a maximum of a month. But you people are borrowing to the extent that people call you and say, where should I send the money to? Banage, don't put on MTN. If you find yourself in a position where you can speak like that, know that your money management is problematic. There's something you're doing that's not right.
Yeah.
First of all, you're not a moral individual. And I know on this podcast, I hear people talking a lot about Christianity, what. But if you're there and you call yourself a Christian, and you're not paying back loans.
Loans, yes. Even the Bible speaks against people who don't want to pay debts.
It's immoral behavior. Even your best friend, not just, and these are institutions.
Yeah.
Even your best friend who lent you KVD, you guys, pay back your loans. And the reason you're not paying back those loans is because you're biting more than you can chew. That is one of the biggest debt issues we have in this country. Biting more than we can chew. And it's okay to just stay home and be there. And not go out to eat in fancy places. And
you can't afford it.
Yeah, borrow for things that are going to earn you money. Me, I'll tell you, I can borrow for someone who's telling me I need transport to go and look for a job.
Wait, you mean people borrow to go to fancy restaurants and eat?
What are you talking about?
Wait,
they even use those loan apps to pay. They ask merchant code, Mama pay. Then they put in. Then they say, Banake, don't send me on that thing. Please note that some of them, their men have sent them money to house them for that thing.
Yes.
Then the men ask them, Banake, let me send you for you and your girls. They have to send to another line. Because on this one, you paid on it with one network. Now you told your man to pay on another network. So that you now have double money.
Oh my God.
But guess what? That's not your money. That's not your money. So debt, that's the problem. You must, and if you're trying to live a right path, we need to learn how to cut down on unnecessary spending. There is unnecessary expenditure in our homes and in our lives as individuals. It's okay to tell your friends, today I cannot come because I cannot afford. I'm doing a baby shower for a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard period at any point in time, it's a hard period for some people.
Yeah, I know.
And I was so impressed by this one person. Okay, I think it also comes with age. I mean, we are 40. I think it also comes with age. I don't think I would have recognized this 30 years ago. Actually, I want to tell you two stories that I was very impressed with that I think come with age. That first one, she told me, Pumla, first, please help. I told them to RSVP to respond by a certain period because we had to pay the service provider's deposit. So she told me, Pumla, please extend me like 3 days. I tried to look for money. So on the third day, I was going to send her a message and say, you know what? If you're really struggling like this, I know you love this person, but it's just a baby shower. Maybe you come and help with XYZ. So that girl sent me a message and she said, Pumla, the truth is, I can't afford. It's really too much of my budget. Yeah. And actually what she said was, the money I was expecting actually came. But I find that I have more pressing necessities and needs
than just
the baby shower. I don't know if Carol will understand, but I pray she does.
Yeah.
And because she was talking to me, I said, you know, I know there are people who you can tell that then they go to the pay party. They better get that girl. Can you imagine? After all you've done for her, she can't even show up. She can't even. No. It is, and the baby shower is this coming weekend. I'm going to go back and express to the girl and say, she could not afford, and it's okay. Like, that's fine. She'll show up for you in other areas. And she said, I'm going to send you a gift that you can send. That was the first one. Wow. The second one, who impresses me all the time, and she's been like this since we were teenagers. I have said, you guys, when you don't have money, learn to use your hands. Stop borrowing money and asking money from people. You're not entitled to anybody's money.
Yeah.
Only you're entitled to what is in your wallet. And if your wallet doesn't have anything, use the talents that God gave you. That girl, whenever any of our friends has a function, she's the one who you will find at Twin shots.
Twin shots.
looking at evidence, like, okay, these are the priorities for production services for your wedding. These are the ones I have found. I have looked at twinner shots. That's the one you need to use.
Wow.
She goes door to door. You want which hairdressers? The bride sends her the hairdressers she has chosen. She goes to the salons. Wow. And she says, I don't think these ones are good for you. I don't think you come and you find me there. How she jumps on her Bajaj. She goes to the salon. They come and find, they have discussions. She notes down, oh yeah, with the decoration.
She goes.
They say, me, I've chosen pink coconuts. I've chosen deco by XYZ. She goes. Because for her, she says, I can't afford, I'm not yet at a point in my life where I can afford to contribute money. So I must use my head. I must use my hands. I must use my legs.
And she's working.
And let me tell you, on the speech at the wedding, John Lubwama, who gave 3 million, they don't talk about you.
They talk about the one who was moving around.
Who was moving from A to B to C to D. So even you as a family unit, be honest with yourselves and say, can we really, really afford to contribute for these things that that the culture and society demands that we contribute to? And if you cannot, guys, it's okay. Let them talk about you. Don't fear to be talked about. Never fear to be talked about. You won't die. What you will die of is poverty.
It's poverty.
Because you contributed more than you could afford to.
Me from life. If I don't have money to contribute, I'll tell you, I will MC your wedding for free.
You've understood.
Yeah, MC your wedding.
You're in the correct. Now you're talking.
That's a big contribution.
Because these days MCs are paid very good money.
Yeah, we are paid good money.
Now you fear to say that money. I was waiting very
Anyway, so Pumla, some of the debt traps people fall into.
Yeah.
And how they should overcome them. You've talked about spending more than you can.
Yes.
The loan apps.
Yes. And maybe I should go back to clarify. I work in the financial sector.
Yes.
And there are good loans. There's good debt and there's bad debt. So that bad debt is what I've been trying to explain to you to avoid.
Yeah.
But there is good debt. The one I talked about, that's improving your financial position.
Yeah.
And that is generating your income.
Yes.
There's that good debt. And there are ways to work around it. But there are also ways, if you find yourself, because maybe you entered that pothole before you listened to this conversation, there are ways you can recover.
Yeah.
Number one, you need to look your debt in the face. Debt is that debt with a bad or good, it is coming for you. So you need to look at it. Remember, you borrowed humbly. You are there borrowing, now you don't want to pay back. List all your debts. And people who find themselves in high debt problems, you rarely have one debt. You find maybe they have Mabanja, maybe in 3 different places. The first one is to list them down. There are 2 different methods, and you can choose the one that works for you. There is one method where people choose to motivate themselves, so they start paying off the cheapest debt first. It's called a snowball method. You start mpola, slowly, ka 20K here, ka 50K there, 100K there, ka 2 million here. It motivates you because you've listed them, remember? Now you're ticking off.
Yeah.
Because if you start ticking off from the heavy ones, you may spend a very long time to come down to these ones. That's what the snowball method is called. You look at them and then you cut. But let me tell you, the bottom principle in paying back debt is cutting back on unnecessary expenses because you have them and you know you have them.
Yes.
You just want to continue living a certain lifestyle like other people or like the one that you were living before. So you must adjust your lifestyle. That one is a must. This advice will not help you if you do not adjust your lifestyle. If you don't cut back, you must cut back. And with the money that you're going to see that there is money that you're going to now start saving. And that money is the one that you're going to use to pay back the debt. That's one method. The second method is, there are those debts that have very high interest. Because if you pay back these small ones, the small ones usually have maybe lower interests.
Yeah.
And they can be forgiven. People don't disturb you a lot. Those high ones have high interest rates and they are big. So their interest is now even bigger. What you can do, you can start from there. And that means you as an individual, you have to cut back even more. That's what we call the avalanche method. You come and say, I'm coming with a force. Your lifestyle has to change. Let me tell you, if you have a debt problem and you don't lose weight, you're doing something wrong. It is serious. It's funny, but it's serious.
Very.
If you don't lose weight, something is not okay. It must show that I am putting in the effort to cut down this loan. One of the ones that is a bit controversial.
Yeah.
because it can be a good thing and a bad thing. One of the bad things that how people accumulate debt is that they borrow to pay back loans. So you find yourself in a vicious cycle of debt repayment that never ceases.
You borrow to pay.
You borrow to pay, and then you have to borrow again to pay that one, then you borrow again to pay that one. But there is a method that you can use where you can borrow and pay back if you're sure that you're disciplined enough to do it. You can join a circle. Circles demand that you save with them, but you don't have to save much. You can save a little with them. And then what you do, and then you can also borrow from them at very low interest rates. So what you can do is that you can consolidate those high interest loans. Use the money you've borrowed from the circle and pay back, and then start paying back the circle. But you must be financially disciplined enough to pay back the circle. Now, forget about the person you were before, the misbehavior you did before. Now you be transformed, be a new person, and decide that I want to be better financially disciplined. I want to live a different life, and then start from there. So you can consolidate those loans and pay back using the low interest loans. But that one, I like to say it very slowly and silently, because I find that people who have high debt always relapse. Then now the circle is also jarring you. So only do it if you know that you're transformed and you're trying to be better and you're going to pay back that loan. Those are the ways you can recover. But at the bottom line being, you must cut down on your expenses. You must. And debt, let's speak about debt in families. You know, there's a reason why. There was a time when people could go and borrow money, and they don't ask you if you're married. You just borrow because you're borrowing as an individual. These days, when you're married, they ask you, where your spousal consent is. Your spouse must consent to you borrowing. One of the biggest problems that we have seen in families is people borrowing money without their spouses knowing. Do you know when their spouses find out? When the bailiffs come and they put a chipande, house for sale.
Bank sale.
Bank sale. Bank sale, that is the word, bank sale. That's when people find out. And then remember, when you're married, now you're joint. Your finances are joined. You're encumbered by him and what he has, and the mistakes that he has done or she has done. Now they are coming after you also. So that's where the problems are. So as families, when you're going to take out debt, talk to your partners. Talk to your partners about what those debts are. Some of you fear your partners. I found a man one day crying in the parking lot. At 3 a.m., guy is drinking his booze there from a bottle. I asked him, what's the problem? He said, Pumla, I don't know how to go back home. I don't know. I accumulated all this, these debts. My wife, we are flying her to here. We are flying. You know those pictures you see on the gram of people there?
Chilling.
Santorini. Santorini. Actually, that is where they went. Santorini. I even took my wife to Santorini. I took her where we did a Euro tour. I knew this thing was going to Mera to catch. The thing Pumla has poured. I don't know what to do. You know, you can be afraid to approach your wife when the thing has poured. If you had told her in advance, you could still be afraid, but not as fearful. Now, the woman didn't know that they were on Mabanja. Please note he had stopped her from working because now he was in deals. They have 5 children going to international school. The whole deal has quabicad, and of course, because no one taught them about finances, there is no emergency fund. They are living in the moment, enjoying life. Why not?
Pumla, you mean people borrow?
They forge their spouses' signatures. Even on trips, they borrow to get married. You guys stop being confused by banks that tell you to come for wedding packages. Do not go, do not take them. It's a trap.
Like,
people borrow for all sorts of things.
No, people were telling me, okay, I stay in Chanja.
They borrow for trips.
People have been telling me about people in Chanja who drive the GLEs and Range Rovers.
They are not theirs.
People are borrowing to actually buy these cars. People are borrowing.
They are not theirs. They are encumbered. Many of them are encumbered. And you know why? Because out of those ones who are borrowing, there is another half that owns. That they are theirs of their own money. Now this other half wants to be like those people. You don't know where people get their money from, you guys. You don't know. So you must move. And also, let's stop putting our partners on pressure. Because you've seen they took Gundi, the other side. Do you know that they may be beating Gundi from there? Then you tell them, Banange, even Sheila is lucky you go there pretending that you're in KB. You go there with your partner. Yee, Banange, see Sheila. Sheila is there. She's on a trip. They even took her for a cruise. Her husband even paid for her other 3 friends. Her husband, your man. Do you know that they may be beating Sheila where she is? Stop burdening your partners to go for things. And you see these burdens come because those partners of yours are also not telling you
the truth.
What their financial muscle is. They're not telling you the truth. So it's a two-way street. This person is burdening you because she doesn't know what's in your pocket. She doesn't know what you can really, really afford. You're lying to her. So it's a two-way issue. So we both have to be honest. You, the person who is the one managing the finances in the home or providing in the home, to be honest and say, Banange, we really can't afford, but let us plan towards that. And guess what? As a family, as a unit, you can plan towards that. And you will be the envy of other people. Nenga, yours is healthy. Nenga, it's truthful. Some of those other people, they are even just giving them those trips. Why? Because the man twas a day. Some of them are just giving them trips as apologies. You don't know what has happened in people's lives. Stop envying what you don't know. Others there, people have gone underground. You don't know where people are getting their money from.
Tell them.
You don't know. You only concentrate on your money and stop looking into other people's wallets and their pockets. If you're married, now your money has come as one. In marriage, by the way, there are 3 parts of money. There's the money that you have to put together as a unit that works with your expenses, achieves your goals and everything. And then there's also money that you should have as individuals, because at the end of the day, we are individuals. So you should have those 3 separate accounts: my account, your account, and then the joint account. And even that joint account, there should be an account for expenses. That joint account should be 2. The one for expenses and the one for savings and investments. That should also be there. So when you look, you should be able to look at that money. And I agree that our culture is not yet ready for that. I agree. But let's open up a little bit. You don't have to show everything if you don't want to. If you're not there yet, it's okay. If your culture is still limiting you because you have a limiting mindset and limiting money belief, open a little bit so that your partner can know what you can really afford and what you can do. And even you be open. Some of you make money, then you get other women, then you get other children.
Because you feel you have a lot of money.
Because you feel you have a lot of money. But just because you have more money, sometimes go on a trip. Not every time diapers. Not every time. And not every time building another house for the side door. Invest in your homes.
Invest in your partners.
Invest in your partners. Invest in yourselves. In your homes, Banange, life can be sweet. Inga, your money is nuclear. It's here. Like that money which is spread out, the other side. I tell them when it's calling you, I tell now, then you're there lying. You spend an hour in the car when you get back home because you have to manage all the little homes that you're dealing with and where all that money is going. That's stress.
That's why you die.
Then men say, we suffer. You guys, you don't know men, we are suffering.
You
brought the suffering to your home. Wow. You brought it home. So there are decisions that we have to make, and there are financial decisions we have to make that we have to understand there are consequences to these decisions. And what is your part? What is your part? Because money conversations should not be about blame. They should be about equal responsibility. What are we doing wrong that is not allowing us to meet our goals? Those are the conversations you should be having. Not blaming that you did this, you didn't do that. No. It is Banange. We are not reaching where we want to go. What's happening? What can we do better? What can we do better?
How can individuals start planning for retirement, especially when they feel like they're living on paycheck to paycheck?
Start small. Start small. When it comes to retirement, I must say this. Retirement is money that you must be assured of. So you can't really invest your retirement money in risky ventures. So this is what I would advise. As you start small. The younger you are, the less of a priority it is. Remember at the beginning we talked about urgency and importance. When you're looking at your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, there must be some urgency and importance. So when you're 20, there is no urgency. And not that there's no urgency, you also don't have the money to remove huge amounts for retirement. You have other things that you're planning in your life, around your life. So start small and then be consistent. Open up a retirement account when you're ready. Open up an account that is specific for a time when you will not be making as much money as you can, or when you're not going to be employed anymore. set it there, and then just put small little amounts as and when you can. And then as the years pass, keep adding on. And you see, these days we talk about saving, but these days there is nothing called just saving. These days we invest. What the saving is that you're investing in low risk options. Those low risk options are treasury bills, treasury bonds, and what they call unit trusts. Unit trusts, they call it, they're collective investment schemes. And let me just explain to you very quickly. I'm sure you hear these words, bills, bonds, vici, and you don't understand what we are saying. Very quickly, let me explain it to you. The government, there is no government in the world that can afford their budget entirely on their own. That government does not exist. They all have to borrow. Even the big ones, you see that Dubai's and everything, the United Arab Emirates, they have to borrow. Of course, there are those that have buffers that are helped by their natural resources, like oil. Those ones, they are separate categories. But most of the governments have to borrow. And there are two ways that governments borrow to finance their budgets. And financing their budget is to do infrastructure, health, education, to give back to the country. So you can borrow money, the government can borrow money domestically. Domestically means from locals. So Uganda, the government of Uganda will borrow from Ugandans, or it can borrow externally. Externally meaning that's when we borrow from external sources. And then we get those problems of, now you did not sign the homosexual bill, so we are not going to give you money. Yeah. So that's foreign borrowing. So this local one is cheap, and the foreign borrowing is expensive.
Very.
Because you're borrowing in foreign currency, and you know that dollar to the shilling is a bit
high.
It's high. So if you borrow from Ugandans, it's much cheaper, and you can get a lot of money. And people have money there seated doing nothing. So the government of Uganda comes through Bank of Uganda and says, I want to do this road, or I want to set up this school. I need 4 billion Uganda shillings. Bank of Uganda comes to the public and says, the government needs 4 billion Uganda shillings. So everybody brings out what they can. The least amount you as an individual you can contribute to the government of Uganda is 100,000 Uganda shillings. And that's as an individual. But the good thing these unit trusts have shown us is you can even go less. Now, unit trusts, all you need is 10,000 Uganda shillings to lend the government money. There is a product by NSSF called Smart Flexi, NSSF Smart Life. Smart Flexi Life.
Yeah.
Where you need 5,000 Uganda shillings. So there was a time when I used to have trouble speaking to a certain income group because the cheapest that you could invest in treasury bills and bonds was 100,000. And not everybody can take away 100,000 to save or invest. But now as low as 5,000, you can invest, and you don't even need to show up. Everything is on the phone. Everything is on the phone. So government takes your money in different spheres. They have short-term and long-term. So the shortest it takes your money for is 3 months. The longest it takes your money for is 20 years. So the ones which are longer than maybe 10 years or 5 years are usually big corporate institutions, you know. But as individuals, because now I'm talking mostly to individuals, you can lend the government for 3 months, for 6 months, for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, and for 5 years. Those are the ones I've seen individuals usually. And even for 10 years. The longer you lend the government, the higher your return. And contrary to popular belief, the government is the one body in the world that always pays back. Always. You abuse the government, here. And yet the people you look up to that you want even mentorship are the ones who are defaulting on their loan repayments. I will not say names, but I know you know them.
She works there, she knows them.
I see them in the news.
Okay.
I see them in the newspapers. You know them. Those big businessmen who come and you think they are
post around.
They post around. They are in bad debt. They are taking their buildings left, right, and center, and they don't want to pay back. So the government always pays back. So what Bank of Uganda does is it takes that money and then gives it back to you at the date that you have allowed the government to take the money for. At that date, including your interest. Wow. And it is risk-free. We call it low risk because we don't want to harm ourselves, but there is no incident that has ever happened. And that's just it.
Even though it's change of government? Even though it's change of government,
it can never happen. There's going to be a point someone will ask, what if, I remember there was a regime where they devalued the money, where they cut off some zeros from the money. And that happens. But you see, even if your money is in government securities, your money, even the one in your wallet and pocket, is cut. The zeros are cut. So it's all the same thing. There's no difference. Yeah. So if you're there in a place where you don't know yet what you want to use this money for, or you have this money, but it is not enough, and that's where retirement also comes in. If it is not enough, you put that money in government securities, and you can choose how to do it. Either do it directly through a commercial bank, but those are the ones that have 100,000 minimum.
Yeah.
Or you can do it in a unit trust, which is 10,000, and go to Capital Markets Authority. And one thing I need to explain to people, when it comes to investment, make sure where you're putting your money is regulated and licensed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to go to Capital Chicken, and then you're going to cry for because you're going to go for gold schemes, and because the return, it seems too good. Anything that seems too good to be true is not true. Run away. So we're just giving you these options, and these options are not to make you rich and wealthy. These options are to help you manage your finances and give you a long eye view of what your money can do for you in the long term. So put your money in those places. Capital Markets Authority has a full list of the licensed unit trusts. I'm not telling me I use 3 because I diversify my portfolio. You don't know anyway what can happen, even if they are regulated. But they are safe. And if anything happens, there is somewhere you can report to and for duress, to be helped.
Yeah.
So there are those that are the commercial banks, there are financial institutions that are regulated by Bank of Uganda, and those by Capital Markets Authority. And then NSSF has its own package. I really like the NSSF ones because they even go as far as, I think, 15 years old. You can start as long as 16 years old, to invest. And children, I'm teaching my children to invest.
Nice.
So what is your excuse? As a 30, 40-year-old, what is as a 20-year-old?
20-year-old.
My 16-year-old is investing already in these products.
Wow.
Because I've educated him. And you have an excuse, but not after today.
So he's a planned kid already.
He's a planned kid. Now he's planning for himself.
And his future.
I planned for him, yes, but he's also planning for himself going forward. So retirement is that. You start slow, you do those low-risk options, and then you now start investing in those that are a little riskier, but are going to appreciate in value at the time you retire. Like land, real estate in Uganda, for sure. There are others that are very risky, and those ones I can't speak to them, but for when it comes to low and assured money, even if it's not today, real estate, but not risky real estate. Land, is going to be there, but keep checking on your land, because there is a law now. If the squatters stay there for too long, it becomes their land. So when you put land somewhere, check on it, keep going, drive, send someone, look, or fence it, and know that's my asset, protect it. Yeah, and as a couple, these are things that you said till death do us part. So plan to retire together. Speak to each other and ask, how do we want to live when we are retired? You see, me and my partner, we know how we want. We want to live when we are high on a hill and looking over, That's what we want to do. We don't want to hear, I'm here in the studio, but if I tell you the matatus I'm hearing around me, you don't want to be. You've not been here where I am. But the noise of the matatus on the road, I don't want to be 70 years old. But you see, because of my age, it's okay. I don't mind listening to these taxis. But there's got to be a certain age.
You just want to be somewhere quiet.
Peace, quiet, serenity. Speak as a couple. Is that what you want? Some people retire and want to live in apartments. Then now your goals are different. So, but most people, at least the standard core, you'll say, what do we want our lifestyle to be? My parents are over 70 years old and they are going on cruises now. Yeah.
They're on yachts?
No, they're not yachts. Yachts are expensive, those ones. Yeah. But these cruises, if you've planned for them, there are these Caribbean cruises to go to Jamaica. Yeah.
They go on those ones?
Oh, yes.
Your dad and mama, they're all there
alone. They leave us. And you can even call them and say, Mom, I'm coming by to visit you. We are not there.
We're on a Caribbean
We are in a Caribbean, they are just forwarding to you pictures. Wow. Because they planned, they talked and asked, what do you want? Now you might have married someone who is afraid of water. For you want to go on the cruise. So now you have to discuss, okay, now you're afraid of water, what can we do? What is the alternative, at least? So you have to have a plan of, I'm retiring with you. And I like what you say, you started with this. I like how you start your conversations. That they give marriage a bad rap, but guys, marriage ideally is for the long haul. So when you're planning, plan for the long haul. That's it. And the long haul, retirement is shorter than till death do us part. Alhamdulillah, let's hope for that. So it's like, let's think about it as a couple. Where do we want to go? What is the lifestyle? Let us start planning for it and agree, when do we start? Because sometimes if you have too many financial goals together, you might get overwhelmed. So if you feel, okay, let's extend this, agree and talk. When are we starting to talk about retirement? In the next 5 years. Kama mbaya.
Nimbaya.
Nimbaya. So that when Mr. Gundi comes and says, Banange, umwana tufune yo obukadde, ask, we said we are going to talk about retirement. So we don't have any space to add that number of obukadde. It's not there. You're having those children because you're not planning for anything, for other things.
Until they say, Muzale,
yeah, Muzale. Ugandans think that that's where all their money needs to go, in children. You've never left the country, you've never gone on a cruise.
But you're there giving back.
On a cruise, you guys.
You have been on
and
cruises,
just be away, and you just be away for a month with no worry in the world. Everything is paid for, exclusive.
Whatever you just go for like a week and you feel like, I need to stay here longer.
Stay here. You're quarreling about your government, you've never left the country. Even that passport is about to expire, Temoli stamp. And you got your passport, they said new passports. Bamanyi, there are people who's, even we have our national IDs. Those national IDs could take us to Kenya, to Rwanda. Tanzania refused our national ID, Munanga. I went there one time, they sent me back with my national ID. Rwanda, in East Africa, they allow except Tanzania. But some of you, they have expired.
You've never left anywhere.
You're adding third child, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh children.
And you're beating the government.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at you,
Anyway, Pumla, what's the best way one can build an emergency fund? Most if they're like on a tight budget. Because we've talked about emergency funds, and I really believe that the viewers really need to know about an emergency fund. So what's the best way one can build one?
Just have it as a priority. That's it. Just have it as a priority. And I'll keep saying this. Start small. There's nothing like too little. There's nothing like too little. And this will go all the way, because you had also asked me about building finances. There's if you find that the money you have right now is not enough for you. Because people like to say, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. My question is always, why are you living paycheck to paycheck? And yet God gave you talents. God gave you passions. Why aren't you monetizing those passions? You see this man seated here. He does MC gigs. But he could also choose to just be there and say, me, my job at KFN. And that's enough. Then he says, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. You guys, all of us, God gave us talents. Each and every one of us, we're just not using them. For example, me, I'm come here, I've sat here, I'm not being paid. But for this knowledge which I am giving, there are institutions that pay me very good money. But just that I try, I'm doing a service to the community. So where I can talk for free, I talk for free. But there are corporations that have it in their budgets and call you and say, Wanange, can you talk? I have a job. I don't have to live, I don't even have to do those other things. But you who is living paycheck to paycheck, you don't want to do other things because you want to stay hangover on a Saturday. Because you want to go back home early to watch Netflix? Why are you living paycheck to paycheck? So that's the first thing. Building an emergency fund needs money. But if you're there and you're struggling and you're saying, Banange, at this point in time, maybe I need some time to plan for that passion, to monetize it. Start with what you have. The first thing you need to do is save as soon as you earn, not after you have spent. If you haven't listened to anything I've said today, the lovers of the romantic Muchika and his audience, you can shut out the entire conversation we've had until this point. Start here. Save as soon as you earn, not after you have spent. Any money that comes to you, before you put food in your mouth, ask yourself, how much am I setting aside, even if it is 500 Uganda shillings? Put it aside, because that's your income level. Saving is not for rich people. Saving is for people who earn money. As long as you earn anything. Even my own child, I do content creation. My child takes me videos, and I pay him 20K. I give him money, and before I give him that 20K, I ask him,
what are you going to use it for?
I don't ask him what are you going to use it for. I ask him, how much are you going to save? I don't care what he does after that, because it's his life, it's his money. I tell him, how much of that 20K are you going to save? And I don't give it to him until he tells me the correct amount that I think he can and should, because he's a child. But you as an adult, as long as you earn money, if you're not earning money, you can't have an emergency fund. It's not possible. But if you have any amount of money, get that 5K and look for where you can put it, and put it in a place that earns you interest. I've already listed them. Those unit trusts take 10K. What is your excuse when someone is taking 10K, 5K? Do you know that it is those border men on the stage who you're taking who have rentals? Do you know that? Do you know that it is those market vendors whom you're paying money, tomatoes and onions and bargaining for, who own the stalls, their neighbors' stalls? Do you know that?
Those people have money.
It is middle income asking these questions.
People in Chikubo.
People in Chikubo are the ones who asked for banks to stay open on Saturday and Sunday. They wrote to Bank of Uganda and said, can you please, because the law refused those institutions to open over the weekend. They are the ones who asked. But do you know what middle income is doing? Middle income is asking for ATMs to stay open. They are calling so that they can remove money.
Only this.
The Chikubo person, the market vendor, the borderman just wants a safe place to keep his money. Because he's working late and he's working over the weekend. Those are not, that's why when people come and tell me that, Pumla, you're privileged, you work in the bank, you have this. I say, me, that borderman who texts me, that borderman who I always call to pick up things from my home, he's richer than me. So what are you saying?
We've seen them.
What are you talking about? That borderman owns the borders on that stage. You don't know. So that paycheck to paycheck, because that man, it may not even be your passion. It may be something that you've seen. There is a gap. There is a demand gap. How can I feel it? Paycheck to paycheck is okay. But work towards monetizing your talents, what you have, and earning more income. You must be able, because of your gifts, to develop multiple income streams. Different just by doing what you like to do. Me, they used to beat me for talking. They used to beat me for talking in class. See me here.
You're making
talking non-stop. Talking like a problem. That, yes.
You were number one on the talkers list.
Even when I did not attend class. Even when they would write me, I would come the next day and I was sick. They say the name, the people who talked on Thursday, this is the list. My name is there.
Pumla Nabachwa.
But if I tell you that most of my money is made by talking, it earns me more money than my corporate job. Who are you? Do you think you're any less a child of God? That God has privileged some people and not you? And it is that thought process and mentality that keeps you stunted and not making money and thinking that other people deserve more than you. We all deserve it because we are all children of God and He loves us all the same and He wants what's best for us. Life happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. It is you making those decisions for yourselves. Wow. So if you change your mindset and start to see life as an abundant place for you to make money and manage your money and do more than making and spending and now manage the in-between, I tell you guys, we will be a much better community, much better homes, and much better individuals for it.
Nice.
Yeah. Again, this last part I've said, if it's the only part you take, you can switch off. Interesting.
Pumla, as we are concluding, what is that one financial lesson you've learned in your life that you feel you need to share with the young people out there?
Not saving as soon as I started earning.
Yeah.
So there are two things. There's that when you have money, save now as soon as you earn.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one of you get your first job, start saving. You guys, when I started saving, and I started looking at my money accumulating and growing, I thought back to myself and said, if I had started this 10 years before.
Same thing with me.
That's my only advice I can give anybody today. That anytime someone puts money in your hand, start saving it. And I know you have people who listen to this show in university.
Yes.
As well as university.
Yeah.
That money which your mother and father give you and your uncles give you, let me give you a tip. The money which your parents give you as pocket money, use it for your expenses. If anybody else gives you money, I teach this to my son because my son is loved by many.
Yeah.
I tell him, Teja, I can look after you because I planned for you. The money I give you is enough and even more to look after you. I give him pocket money. But he has aunties, uncles, people who send him money. And remember what they used to do in those days? They'll give our parents the money, we would never see the money.
You ask for it,
Tonywa, ateze engato, ate ebitabo byatwakugulidde, ate guli, ate school fees. You even pay your own school fees using your money from other people. But now that we know better, twofold, as parents, we need to teach our children that for every money that comes in your hand that either you worked for or you did not, save it. So my son now, because he opened these accounts, these investment
unit trust, yeah.
Whenever his auntie Shatrag sends him a satu, his koja sonko sends him a tano, his jaja boy sends him mutwalo, his all that money.
Unit trust.
Unit trust.
Wow.
It's a lesson that needs to start from a young age, and we were disadvantaged because we didn't have financial literacy in schools. But now we are having the conversation. It's never too late to start. Yeah. So teach you, and even you the parents, when your child gets money, give it to them. Teach them how to manage that money. If someone gives them money, I know many of you have young children, but let the thought think about it. So that by the time that those children are growing, you know that, I remember on this talk show, they told me when my child gets some money, I give it to them. Give it to them. Give them where to invest it. So that as they grow as adults, they learn the saving culture. We need to embed in our society a culture of savings, both for what we know, which is education, which is weddings, which is trips. A message to young people, especially from the mistakes that I had made. It is one, for parents now to teach their children how to manage finances better by giving them that money so they can watch them manage it. Then two, as you, if you've never had this conversation, just start saving now as a university student, as somebody who's just left university and got their first job, as someone in their 30s who has been working for over 7 years, as somebody in their 40s, in their 50s. It is never too late to start, because let me tell you, the power of compounding interest is you cannot negotiate with it. When I look at my money now, instead of appreciating my money, I'm just thinking, Kale, if I had started 10 years before I started,
you'd be a billionaire.
I would be very far, very far.
I know.
So yeah, for me, mine is start saving as soon as anybody puts money in your hand.
Interesting. And finally, why do you think men are scared of financially independent women? And I see this a lot on social media, Pumla.
You come for me.
I see it a lot on social media. Like men,
why do you think?
No.
What do they say on social media?
They say that a man who finds a woman who is like way better than him financially, the woman will never give you respect.
Okay.
Number two, she'll always underlook you. As a man, you'll be feeling out of place. And we've seen, I've seen families where the woman is earning more than the man, and they are okay. But also families
also seen the other side.
But also, you see that a woman is earning more than the man, and the man is not comfortable. He lives and is like, let me go to a person I feel I can control.
Thank you very much. Now, I don't think men fear financially independent women.
What do they fear?
I think men are just human beings, and like all human beings, we tend to go towards what is familiar. If I can explain to you the psychology of it, let me start from basics. The brain is wired to do only one thing for us: to survive. One of the ways that the brain keeps us alive, that is to survive, is to make us go towards things that are familiar, to places that we once went to and survived. So the brain, we feed our brain with information. If you grow up as a young man and you grow up seeing that women are dependent, that's what your brain registers. If you grow up not seeing women doing for themselves and having their own money, that's what you're registered. It is a belief, a mindset that your brain registers. That is one. So what is the tradition? It stems from a traditional belief. The traditional belief system that we all know, that is propagated by our culture and environment, is that men provide. That means finances are men, masculine men, and women nurture. So women take care of the home. So the brain is happy with that. The brain is happy when it sees an environment where the man is providing and the woman is nurturing. In any situation where these roles get reversed, the brain will fight you. It looks at it like a disease, like there's something wrong. Why are we here? Why are we where we are? There's a neural pathway, again, we're in psychology. It means that there's a pathway that has built and ingrained a mindset in your head. That there's something wrong with women who can provide. And there's something wrong with men who can nurture. And once you believe that, you think it is true. Again, I'll go back to what you said about marriage. When you believe that marriage is bad, your brain will be wired to think that marriage
is bad and it will be bad for you.
And it will be bad for you. When you're wired and you think that marriage is good, and you insist that it is good, marriage will be good for you. Of course, that's just a fundamental. There is work according in the process.
There's work to be done.
All factors constant. Mine is an all factors theory.
Yeah.
The brain works like that, and it has shown us examples of what happens. That is why men marry their mothers and girls marry their fathers, because the brain tends to go to what is familiar. That is why you will find that people in homes who have absentee fathers, girls brought up by absentee fathers, will usually marry absentee husbands.
Oh, wow.
Because the brain goes where it is familiar. That is why you will find women who have been assaulted or victimized in their homes will continue the process. Even their children, even their daughters will be assaulted, because the brain goes where it is familiar, whether it is wrong or right. And when you try to enter uncharted territory, the brain fights you. Back to financially independent women. This financially independent woman generation is just blossoming. And by the way, it is not blossoming. Even in generations before, women were independent. We just didn't call it financially independent. Men went out to hunt. Women gathered crops. Women could sustain themselves without the men. They needed men to protect them. That was what men really were for, protection. And provision came from both of them. The man hunted, and when we became animal eaters from gatherers, he brought home hard. But the woman went out and picked crops and came and cooked. Women have always been independent. It's just that there was no financial in that time. So now we've evolved to using cash as currency. And people forget that independence does not only come as finances. We've just changed the language we're using. We've always been independent. I feel like society just wants women to remain under a certain control. I feel like men like control, and that's why I wanted you to say it first. I didn't want to say it. Because they'll say, Pumla, you don't like men, you're man basha. Yet me, I love men. There's no one in this world I love like men. I need men.
I know.
I need men. But I must recognize that there's a difference in the genders.
Yeah.
And I've found that there are three people involved. When a woman has money and she's financially independent, her herself, there's a power dynamic that she doesn't understand. So she moves a certain way. The woman who is not financially independent also looks at her as a threat. As, why are you doing that? Why are you putting in a lot of leaning into your masculine so much? So they look at her as that woman is problematic. And then they start preaching against her. The man on the other side also looks at this woman and is like, there must be something wrong with you. Why are you behaving like that? That's why you can't keep a man even. That's why you're not even married even. Because no man, you can't be with any man when you're like that. You're the one who wears the trousers in the house. People don't know that financially independent women actually wear the dresses in the house. Oh, you can both wear trousers if that is the environment that you've chosen. But I feel like the preaching is the same preaching as marriage. That there are more people speaking about bad marriages than there are about good marriages. And yet, good marriages are actually more.
That is why we started this show.
Very good. There are more financially independent women in homes, in happy homes, than there are in broken homes. There are. It's just that when things are going wrong, people tend to amplify them.
Yes.
They speak about them much more. So men, I will say this, men look at financially independent women as women that they cannot control.
Yeah.
Because financially independent women step into their power. And I agree, power can be used both for good
and bad.
And it can be used for bad. But because the narrative being sold is the bad, they assume that we are all like that. Let me tell you guys, the best gift you can give yourself is a woman who does not depend on you. If you can understand it and embrace it, and that's why I'm here today. Because I know that your brain has formed a pathway that's telling you something old, archaic, that women must depend on you. Do you know that dependency causes anxiety? When you depend on somebody, regardless, you're anxious because you cannot be your authentic self if you know that your livelihood is dependent on that person.
Yeah.
You can never be. You don't know who you married because they know that if I make a mistake, you know that there are men who And women, because even women
Yeah.
these days have money. There are men and women who, if they are the ones who are the breadwinners, if you have an argument, now you're cut off financially. They are not giving you things for the home. They are not giving you money to take care of even pads. They are making you suffer. So now you're the one who always has to come and say, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm this. Even if it is not you who was in the room.
Yeah.
And now when you become okay in the family unit again, something else can happen. But because you remember what happened the other time, you can't address the problem. You can't address the problem. Men don't fear financially independent men. Men are just wired to protect and provide, and they don't know what to do with this animal that can protect and provide for itself. Wow. But guess what? That's who we are because we have had to do it. We are living in a capitalist world now. We both have to bring to the table. We are not doing, this has nothing to do with challenging roles. Me, I can never challenge a man's role. I want to be looked after, but I also want to contribute. The money I'm making is not for me to stand powerful and say, I can do for myself, toina chongamba. It is for me to say, okay, now you have, now I have. Imagine us together, what we can do. That is it. It has nothing to do with challenging your roles. I respect the body I was born into. I am woman. And I know that there are roles that I'm more competent to do, that you possibly also, as a man, you have your roles that you're competent to do. And I will leave you to do them if you can leave me to do mine, as long as you don't make finances that thing that brings us problems. Look at it, embrace it. Empowerment and independence must be embraced by both women and men. And let me tell you, people who like to drive that narrative, both men and women, by the way, it's not just one gender, or financially independent women, empowered women are the ones causing us problems. It is not true, but it is also true to an extent. The reason we're having problems now is because many of us don't know how to move with this newfound freedom and power. And then men also don't know how to deal with that newfound women's freedom and power. But imagine, Emeka, my 16-year-old son, do you know that joy he's going to find in an independent woman?
Woman who has her money.
He knows that's all he knows. That's what he has lived with. If anything, he's now going to reject a dependent woman.
I have a friend called Mugi. Mugi says, "Vane obukazi obwavu mubwewale."
Yes.
Obukazi obwavu.
They have demand.
And they have high standards.
They have high standards.
We've been seeing them on social media.
I've remembered that spirit is women demand for what you can give. If you cannot give it and if you can't provide it, what are you demanding? What are you? At least have it aside and say, even if he leaves, I can go to Santorini by myself.
I can buy myself
a cup, but you're there waiting and saying, for you, you've not bought for me. What do women like these days? Range Rover is high standard. What do you buy for your wives these days?
The cars? Depending on what she wants.
You put us on that side. That is it. I feel like if there's a message I can give to men and women alike, it should be that let us all embrace financial security and let us all understand what the bottom line is. The bottom line is to take care of our persons and take care of our family units, take care of our dependents. If we both have the same bottom line, there is never a threat to who has more money and who is making money and who is the one doing the nurturing and who is the one doing the providing. All those threats break down when you, as a couple, understand your bottom line. And as long as you're both working towards achieving it, key word is both.
Both.
Working towards achieving the bottom line of securing your family financially and elevating your family financially. Those questions they evaporate.
They evaporate. Yeah. Wow. Pumla, it's been a beautiful conversation.
Haven't we talked for like 5 hours?
It's like 2 hours. But thank you so much, Pumla. I really appreciate you taking time off your work schedule to come here and educate my people about financial literacy. So to the couples out there, I hope you have picked something. I hope you have picked something on building generational wealth, on saving, emergency funds, overspending, spending way beyond. And to the broke people out there who set high standards, please stop.
Release us.
Release us. We are tired. To the single men out there, you know the kind of women you must look out for. Pumla is going to be back on the show very soon,
Yeah.
and we will be tackling another topic. Should I tell you?
Tell them.
We will be tackling divorce.
Yeah.
We will be tackling divorce
And co-parenting.
and co-parenting. How she's been able to co-parent. She's the best person for this conversation. She's actually the one who chose the topic, but first she was like, let's talk about finances. Yeah. Pumla, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope that your people have learned something.
They have.
At least one.
Do you know how many times they've suggested you, bring Pumla Nabachwa, we want Pumla Nabachwa, who no one. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. This is Ty, the Note with the Maker, the Romantic Muchiga. Keep on liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Till next time, bye.